Amina's story spread far beyond her village. It traveled across neighboring towns, whispered through the hills and valleys by those who had heard her tale and found strength in it. People came from distant places seeking advice from the villagers, asking how they too could find redemption, how they could make peace with their own pasts. One day, a woman named Halima, who had been burdened by a deep regret of her own, arrived in the village. She had heard the story of Amina and the forgiveness she had sought for her past mistakes. Halima had once abandoned her own child, leaving her to grow up without a mother. The guilt had eaten away at her for years, and she had come to the village seeking solace. The villagers, who had come to understand the true essence of Amina's teachings, welcomed Halima with open arms. They told her the story of Amina, explaining how she had found redemption through her journey of love, forgiveness, and self-acceptance. "You must forgive yourself," the villagers told Halima, echoing Amina's wisdom. "Only then can you truly begin to heal." Halima spent several days in the village, reflecting on Amina's life and the lessons she had learned. It wasn't easy. She struggled with the weight of her past, but she also realized that she had the power to change, just as Amina had. By the time she left, Halima had begun her own journey of redemption. She knew that it would not be simple, but like Amina, she now believed that true healing came through forgiveness, first from within, and then from others. Years passed, and the villagers continued to honor Amina's legacy. They taught their children her lessons, sharing her story with each new generation. In the quiet evenings, the elders would gather the children around the fire and recount the tale of Amina, the woman who had once made a heartbreaking decision but had transformed her life into something beautiful. One evening, as the village children sat listening intently, an old man named Kofi, who had known Amina in her later years, spoke up. "Amina's story is not just about her mistakes or her redemption," he said. "It is about the choices we make every day. The choices to love, to learn, and to forgive." He paused, his voice heavy with meaning. "Amina taught us that while we may make mistakes, they do not define us. What defines us is how we choose to respond to those mistakes, how we choose to learn from them and grow." The children listened closely, understanding that Amina's life was not a simple tale of sorrow, but one of profound wisdom. They learned that every action, every choice they made, would shape their future. And like Amina, they too could overcome any challenge, as long as they approached it with love, compassion, and a willingness to learn. As Amina's final days drew near, her life had come full circle. The pain and regret that once filled her heart were gone, replaced by peace and the love of those she had helped. Her passing was felt deeply by the village, but even in her death, Amina's presence lingered. She had become a part of the fabric of the village, her story forever woven into its history. The villagers gathered to mourn her passing, but they also celebrated her life. They held a ceremony by the river where Amina had once sought forgiveness. The river, which had been both the source of her deepest sorrow and the catalyst for her greatest transformation, now seemed to embrace her in a final, peaceful flow. The villagers placed flowers in the water, sending their love and gratitude to the spirit of the river that had helped Amina heal. In the ceremony, the people of the village shared their own stories of how Amina had touched their lives. Some spoke of how she had cared for their children, others how she had offered them guidance during difficult times. One by one, they expressed the gratitude, knowing that Amina's teachings would continue to live in their hearts long after she was gone. After Amina's death, her story didn't end. It continued to live on in the hearts of those she had touched. The villagers believed that Amina's spirit still lingered by the river, watching over them and offering guidance when needed. It was said that on quiet nights, when the wind was still, her voice could be heard on the breeze, whispering words of wisdom and reminding them of the importance of love, forgiveness, and making choices with intention. Some said they could feel Amina's presence as they sat by the river, a gentle warmth that washed over them, comforting them in their times of need. Others claimed that when they faced difficult decisions, They would sometimes find themselves thinking of Amina, and in those moments, they would feel a sense of clarity, as if she were there, guiding them. The village became a place where the spirit of Amina lived on, not as a memory, but as an active force in the lives of its people. Her lessons continued to shape the village's future, fostering an environment of compassion, forgiveness, and understanding. Years after Amina's death, the children she had raised, now adults with children of their own, decided to honor her in a special way. They built a monument by the river, a beautiful structure made of stones and flowers, a tribute to the woman who had given them love when they had none. The monument was not just a physical structure, but a symbol of the lessons Amina had taught them, lessons of forgiveness, love, and the importance of making amends. It stood as a reminder to the village of the incredible transformation that was possible when a person truly embraced the power of change. On the anniversary of Amina's passing, the villagers would gather by the river to celebrate her life, to share stories of her wisdom, and to reflect on how much they had learned from her. It became a tradition that spanned generations, with the children of the village continuing to honor Amina's legacy long after she had passed. As the years passed, the village continued to thrive, with Amina's lessons woven into its very fabric. The children who had grown up under her care went on to lead lives full of compassion and wisdom, passing on the teachings she had given them to their own children. Amina's story was not just a tale of redemption, but one of the enduring power of love and forgiveness. Her legacy was not only in the lives she had touched directly, but in the ripples that spread far and wide. Her story became a beacon of hope for those who were struggling with their own regrets, teaching them that redemption was possible, no matter the mistakes they had made. Even those who had never met Amina personally felt the impact of her story. It was shared in schools, in communities, and in families, reaching people from all walks of life. Amina's life became a living testament to the transformative power of love, the importance of making amends, and the incredible strength of the human spirit. The river, once a place of sorrow for Amina, became a symbol of renewal and redemption. People came from all over to visit the river, to pay their respects to Amina and to reflect on their own lives. The river had transformed from a place of guilt and regret into a sanctuary of peace and healing. The villagers believed that the river held a special power, one that could cleanse the soul and provide a fresh start. They saw it as a place where they could find guidance and wisdom, just as Amina had done. The river's waters, which had once carried away a child in sorrow, now flowed with the promise of second chances and new beginnings. Over the years, the village transformed into a place of understanding and compassion. The gossip and judgment that had once defined it were replaced with a spirit of support and empathy. The villagers took care of one another, offering help to those in need and always choosing love and forgiveness over resentment. The story of Amina had created a ripple effect that changed the very heart of the village. It became a place where people were not defined by their mistakes, but by their ability to learn and grow. The village became a model for others, a shining example of how a community could come together and rise above its past. Even after the generations that had known Amina passed on, her story continued to be shared. It was told to children as a bedtime story, passed down through generations as a guiding light for how to live a life of love, redemption, and wisdom. Amina's legacy had become a living part of the village, a story that never grew old. The lessons of her life continued to inspire and shape the lives of those who heard her tale, ensuring that her message of forgiveness and compassion would never be forgotten. Answer: Amina's spirit found its final peace, knowing that she had made a difference. Her story lived on in the hearts of all who had known her, and in the generations that followed. She had taught the world that it was never too late to change, to seek forgiveness, and to embrace the power of love.